This role play is an arbitration. It involves two parties. Supercellnet is a phone company, and they are taking a 16-year-old to arbitration to decide whether this child has entered the contract for the phone.
I'm playing the role of Suna, who is the mother of Amber, and I've co-signed the contract.
I'm the arbitrator in this arbitration, and yes, I will be taking a more controlling role and coming to a final decision at the end.
I'm representing Supercellnet, which is a telephone company, and we are chasing up overdue accounts from Amber and her parents.
Okay, so welcome to the arbitration. I know this is a non-voluntary process for you. You may call me Madam Arbitrator when you speak to me. Pretty much the arbitration, I'm starting with an opening statement. As I've said, it's non-voluntary. We'll then go through, starting with Supercellnet. I'd like you to put your opening statement forward, what your position is. Then you, Suna, will have a chance to respond to that statement, and then also present your opening statement, and then you may respond to that. From there, I'd like you to put some evidence forward to back up your position, and you then again can respond to that, and then put your evidence forward, chance to respond again. And then after that, you then will have your closing statement, summing everything up, pinpointing the main points that you want me to take into consideration, and then you also have the chance to do the same. Once I've got all this information you've given me, and I may at some point stop you and ask certain questions just to help my own understanding as well. At the end, I will ask you both to leave the room, just so I can have a couple of minutes to just take everything in and reflect on everything that you have said. And then once I call you back into the room, I will tell you what my final decision is, and this decision will be binding. So, how do you guys, is that any other questions you have to say about that? No? Alright, would you like to start with your opening statement then?
I represent a telephone company called Supercellnet. Amber and her parents, Suna and Jason, they signed a co-agreement entering into a contract for the telephone services. Amber was under a contract to pay $10 per month, plus the charges of the messages or calls she would make on top of that. She is in debt of not paying the amount on time, so we have to get this amount from her for $30 for the contract charges, $980 outstanding for the call charges, and $52 which she has incurred in late payment fee. When we contacted Jason and Sona as being her parents, because considering the fact she's just 16 years old.
Oh, so she is 16?
She is, yes.
She is 16.
Yes.
Okay.
So they are responsible for the payments on her behalf. At this stage, Jason has advised that he will not be paying any of the late fee or any charges for the telephone calls, because we have stopped their services.
Okay, so who actually signed, being 16, who actually signed with her, or what makes you think her parents are responsible?
Because they entered into a contract under joint names.
Okay.
All three of them, Sona, Jason, and Amber, are in a contract with us for 24 months.
So which two parties actually signed the contract?
Amber and her parents.
And both her parents
Both
signed
of her
it?
parents signed the contract, yes.
Oh, okay. And when they were signing this contract, can you confirm that they were explained the seriousness or understood what it meant to actually sign the contract for their daughter as well? Was that something that you guys have a process that you go through, or?
I was not in person there to process this sale Madam Arbitrator, but I'm pretty sure that our staff is very efficient when it comes to generating sales like this. I myself have confirmed it with the salesperson who sold this plan to this family, and he has confirmed that he went through all the agreement with them, explaining them the outcomes if the payments were not made on time. So they were made clear of the consequences if payments are not received, or if or they were also told that there will be late fee incurring if they are not making the payments on time.
And I know it says that you said before that there was extra charges on top of the $10 a month. Were these costs disclosed to give them a basic idea of what they were, or was it just, you know, if you go over $10, there'll be extra costs incurred? Was that specifically set out for the different things? Like I know messages, SMS, other things cost extra money, the internet. Were these particularly pointed?
Yes, they
to
were
give them
pointedly explained to Amber. So her plan is basically $10 per month. She has to pay $10, but if she makes call on top of that, messages, calls, or the use of internet, she would have to pay for that. So her plan currently is $5.50 per call if that call is more than 10 minutes. So that's how she is using her phone currently, and she's been making very expensive calls. We've sent her a few notices advising her and her parents that she is following behind in her payments.
So you sent notices to Amber and her parents?
And her parents,
or it's
yes.
just Amber? Okay.
Both of them.
Okay. And they haven't responded to anything you've said?
They initially did not respond to any of the notices we sent unless we cancel the mobile services on all 3 of the mobiles.
And did you send letters or did you ring them, or how was your method of?
We did try to contact them over phone numerous times. We do have the records of that as well. And then we did send them letters and notices to advise of the overdue payment.
Okay. We'll leave it there with that. Do you have anything you'd like to respond with?
Okay, first of all, we haven't had anything received to us initially saying that we had overdue accounts until we got this far.
Which was at what point?
Well, now we're sitting at $980 worth of core charges, late payment fees, and an outstanding payment for the contract charges. Yeah, Amber hasn't come to me with anything. She's hidden it from us. Okay, we don't know until now, once we've been told that our phone lines are all being inoperative. Okay.
So you're telling me you had no idea any of this was going on until your phone didn't work?
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Okay.
So we received no letters. There was nothing directly given to us. Okay. Until Supercellnet decided to stop our phones working. So my husband can't use his phone. You know, he runs his business off the phone. I can't use my phone. I work. You know, and my daughter can't use her phone.
Do you have a close relationship with your daughter? Or
Well,
like, does
my
she know
husband
the
and I
children?
have, we're bringing her up to become independent, you know, and just like so she can control and like, you know, be a bit more mature. She's, you know, she's growing up, she's a teenager, we just want her to take some responsibility. So we've allowed her to pay her own phone bill without us having to worry about it. We're not going to get involved, but we expect her to act responsibly, although she hasn't here.
Is she, normally would you say her as a mature child? But
Yep, she's very mature, she's responsible. We wouldn't have taken this step if we didn't think she was ready for it. I understand that I have co-signed with
so
Amber's
you admit to
contract.
co-signing?
Yeah, just me. Jason didn't co-sign at all, but Jason and I have joint accounts, so I
Okay.
think that's where it involves him.
Okay.
Okay, she only recently also informed me, that she had left her car in her phone in a friend's car, for about 2 weeks when they took her to a party, and she claims that he is the one who's been making very expensive calls without her knowledge. She initially didn't even tell us she didn't have her phone on her, only just now.
Was that ever something you discussed with her, that if she lost the phone, or was it something the company at the time told you about, that if the phone got lost, what to do?
No, she basically did not inform us or the company that she had lost her phone. I think she was more worried about being so late in her payments that, you know, she didn't know what to do. She's only 16, she's still growing up.
But she's a mature 16-year-old.
Regardless, she's still growing up. She's learning.
Okay. Is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I do also think that Supercellnet should have advised us that these rates, these phone bills were so high. Being in a joint account and me having co-signed, I still think that Jason and I are still supposed to be informed about all these late charges and all these high call rates. I think once it hits, you know,
A certain point.
if she's only paying $10 a month, coming to $100 over, that's kind of serious for one phone bill on $10. I think they should have advised us long before it got to this far, because it's just ridiculous. She's 16, she can't pay this all up on her own.
Was that something that you discussed with the company when you
No, we
signed
didn't
up,
think we
or?
were going to have these problems, but naturally, you would not wait till, you know, a bill comes to $1,000 to go tell, you know, your purchasers, your customers that, hey, you've got an overdue bill of $1,000. That's kind of ridiculous.
So you did.
It's not good customer service.
So the company did not explain. Did they explain to you what your role as a co-signer would be and what that would involve?
No, don't tell me for Amber to get a phone, she had to have an adult to co-sign for her.
And you didn't question what that meant?
No, just what I understood that she's not 18, she's technically not an adult. 16 to enter a contract, and for it to be legally binding, she would need an adult.
Okay, so you just thought your signature was just to get it through.
Yeah.
There wasn't much else with it.
No, we had nothing explained to us.
Okay. Would you like to respond to that? Put anything forward to kind of back your side up?
Yes, Madam Arbitrator, I understand that SONA is under the impression that we never inform them on time, or we have the responsibility of advising them when and how their daughter is making expensive calls. Well, I have evidence to support my claim.
Okay.
And
what are these?
And that would be that we send them a number of overdue account reminders. And I believe they're living in the same property, so I would assume they would have received it, because notifications coming from bank or telephone companies are important enough for parents to open and read.
Did you send separate letters, or was it, you know, the one letter to the 3 people, or what would have happened?
They are under a joint name, so when we send a letter, it says both of the parents' name.
And
So
and
either
Amber?
either one of them could open it.
So would you send a letter to Amber and then a separate letter to her parents, or would you just chucked it all on the one letter?
It's one letter which would
Just
say
one
all
letter?
3 of their name, and then the address below down. So they all had access to this letter. All 3 of them could open it. So I would completely disagree to the fact that we did not provide them details far ahead of time, or we did not inform them of the overdue accounts.
So when did you send the first letter? At what point did you decide, hey, we better see what's going on here?
After the initial 4 months, Amber started to incur the late payment fee and the overdue bills. That was the first time when we started to send out the letters.
So she kept her payments up to 4 months?
And for the first 4 months, she kept her payment up to date. But after that, she was not paying the $10 charge on time. She was not even paying the basic charge.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, she was usually using it for up to $50 a month, and she was not paying for that amount as well. So at the end of the 4 months period,
Mhm.
we sent the first notice to her parents and herself. We did not receive any response. We did not receive any outstanding payments or charges for that period.
Mhm.
We did make numerous telephone calls, and even on those telephone calls, there was no outcome to make the payments. We were never agreed to a point where they would say, okay, they would either talk to their daughter about the telephone calls, or they did not show any responsibility as a parent that they will be responsible for paying these accounts because they signed the contract. So at this stage,
So have I noticed that the parents are also have a different contract with your company. Why did you decide to? Were they keeping up with their payments?
their payments are fine, yes.
Okay, so why did you make the decision to ban all 3 phones? What was the?
Because when they signed the contract, they took the responsibility for Amber
For Amber's
and
mobile?
for her telephone calls and for her payments and overdue bills.
Yeah.
We've been very proactive in terms of advising them of the outstanding accounts by making phone calls and by sending them notices.
Yeah.
And we still have not received the payment outstanding, which is around $1,100 at this moment.
Okay. Would you like to respond to that, Sina?
Okay, all the letters Super Sona is referring to were directed to Amber only. That's why we did not know about it. She has been hiding them from us. She just didn't want to show us basically that she was going over and she wasn't, keeping up or like staying within her limit. That's understandable for a
Did you ask
16-year-old.
her ever how she was
No, we
making
told her
payments,
that
or-
she's like completely independent. Everything is just, she's controlling everything. So basically, we're just giving her independence. So yeah, we used to start receiving letters. Jason and I started receiving letters once, the charges reached to, over $11,000, which is quite ridiculous. So that something get that far. And we think that, if our child, if you have a customer and they're always going over, would you not recommend, a better offer if you want to keep them happy and keep, your customers with your company longer? Jason and I have been up, keeping up with our payments. We've always been on time. So I do not understand why our phones got cut. I'm happy for Amber's to get cut until she learns to be more responsible and pays off everything. I think that's ridiculous because it's not our phone bill, our personal phone actually. Jason is not the one who co-signed, I did. So him to not be able to run his own business now is just terrible because everything is off his phone. If he has no access to using his phone, he can't run his business. I'm happy I'm not happy actually to have my phone cut off as well, just because I co-signed. We didn't get all the formalities of everything and what would happen. Basically, the company was just happy to get another contract going. And thinking that, we're so good with our repayments and all, that they would be a bit lenient or a bit more fair in like giving us some options we can go about, paying off this bill or whatever.
So you recognise that it is Amber's responsibility to pay it back?
Yep, definitely. I do not disagree.
Right. And regarding the letters and that, it's because this has been going on a little while under your nose and you've had no idea about it. Does Amber how would have Amber got these letters for you? Do you ever read anything that comes in the mail for her?
We're always working and we're very our family is very into giving, independence. We don't want the child to grow up, having to always rely on us because you never know what could happen to you in the near future. So we want to give them that kind of responsibility.
Does she take on any other responsibilities besides this? Is there something else that she does that makes you feel that she was mature enough to go into this?
She's doing extremely well at school. She's involved in all this volunteer work in the community. She plays competitive sport on the weekends. She does so well. We wouldn't think anything bad, really.
I would like to add Madam Arbitrator. Sona just mentioned that Amber is 16 years old. She's still growing, she's still learning, and that was the main reason for them to signing a contract. But at the same time, she's suggesting that they want her to be independent. They sort of just let her hide letters, or I would say that if they have signed a contract with her, it is their responsibility to keep an eye on the bills, making sure that she is paying them. If not, then they are responsible for those payments. So if they're saying she's a child, she's just 16 years old, she's still learning, it means that they are responsible. They need to tell her what she needs to do. And on one time, this is their responsibility. And if they're saying they never opened the letter, or she was always hiding it from them, that is again their responsibility. So they should have looked into the letters. It's very hard for me to believe that she was successful in hiding all the mails from them. So it is very superstitious. It is very hard to believe for me that was going on for such a long time, and as a parent, they almost failed to look at the facts.
We won't get too personal on that point. Is that something that you
Yes,
need
I
to
would.
say?
I think it's disgusting how Supersonic wants to judge my parenting about me and my husband's. I think that is extremely personal. I do not appreciate it. My daughter is a responsible child. Yes, she is 16 and growing up. By giving her independence, she's 2 years away from being legally an adult. When do you want me to start? When she's 18, and then she'll be hit with all these adult responsibilities. If she wants to move out soon, that's up to her. You know, she's got to learn responsibility from now. And in saying that, if you are a proper company, would you not be sending us regular notifications to Jason and I, indicating that these bills are always, being over $10, and that these fees are just getting raised higher and higher and higher? So, if you had come to us earlier saying that, if there was these bills are coming at such a high rate, blah, 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 we would have attended to our daughter, spoken to her. Whether she hides the mail or not, it's not my responsibility. If she receives mail, she'll receive it. If Jason and I receive it, we'll get it and we'll read it and look at it. If we saw these letters, we would have attended to them immediately. And to also claim that you will be putting us record us as bad debitors, I don't think that's fair, because Jason and I are very consistent with our repayments. It's our daughter who's maybe, stuffed up, obviously. She's happy to pay. We're fine with that, but we do not want to be reported as bad debitors.
Alright. On that point, how often did you send letters out, or what was your next point of call if the letters weren't working? You obviously weren't getting responses.
Yes, for the first 4 months, we just sent them the monthly statements as per normal business.
Because she was keeping up with the payments?
Yes. After that, we started to send them the notices demanding this amount to be paid as soon as possible.
How often? What
it was every month.
Every month?
Every month, and then...
So you sent one letter a month?
One letter a month, but for the last 2 months, we were sending them 2 letters a month reminding them.
But you were sending one letter with all 3 names?
Plus the mobile phone reminders. They have set up that service with us, so we've been sending them the mobile phone reminders, and also
to their
mobiles. So if they argue that they never received the letter, they would have received the phone reminders on their mobile phones.
Did you receive any mobile phone reminders?
No, I do not remember signing up to any of that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And if we had, we would have attended to it immediately. Our records were loyal customers. We wouldn't have stopped.
And I would also like to disagree on the fact that the letters were sent just in Amber's name. They were sent in Amber, Jason, and Sona's name as well.
But the one letter with all 3 names?
With all 3 names.
Provide evidence of that?
Can you provide evidence of that? You said before, yes? Did you not think that maybe having 3 names on the one letter wasn't working? Maybe she may have, what do you ever thought? She may have hit the letters and her parents weren't?
If she has hit the letter, that's not our issue.
But isn't it the company's position to, if something's not working, try a different approach?
Yes,
maybe
that's
send
why
2
I'm
different
saying
letters?
we sent the letters, we made the telephone calls, we sent them reminders on their mobiles as text messages. we have failed all attempts to get this money. It was not just us sending the letters and waiting for them to take action. We've tried other avenues to contact them and try to establish that the outstanding fees should be paid. And also I understand from the facts that she has lost the telephone at some stage, and one of her friends must have used the phone for expensive calls. If she or one of her friends is using her mobile, as a mobile company, we wouldn't know the difference. If someone is making a call from the same telephone number, the mobile phone bill would incur under Amber's name, not under someone else who's using the phone.
Was that something that you explained when they signed the contract? You know, what happens if you lose the phone, or, you know, your phone gets broken, or what? Was that something you went through with them?
If they lose the phone under the contract, they should inform the telephone company.
Did you tell them that?
Yes, it was this time when they signed the contract. It is one of the terms and conditions of the contract. They were advised that this is what they should do if the telephone is lost. But I understand that Amber did not even inform her parents. She should have informed us. We could have just discontinued the services, and this phone bill would not.
Was this directed at Amber, considering she was the one that was going to be, like, did you feel that Amber was across the table and understanding, going through these different terms and understanding what she was getting involved in? Is that something you could?
Yes, when the telephone was sold, when this contract was sold, Amber and her parents both were sitting there. I understand if 16 years is old enough to enter, to co-sign a contract or to use a mobile phone on her own, then she should have understood all the terms and conditions as well.
Yeah, it's one thing to sit there though, but to actually understand that's something else. Do you, in this particular situation, do you feel this 16-year-old understood what she was getting into when you make, or was it just making a sale?
Obviously, we were not trying to sell a telephone to mentally disabled 16 years old. So we would have assumed that considering the fact that she is participating in all other activities and she's going to school as well, so she is a smart child. She would understand the terms and conditions. If not, then her parents had the responsibility to explain everything to her.
Okay. Would you like to add anything else to anything that's just been said?
Basically, after 7 months, Supercellnet were the ones who informed my daughter that her phone line's been suspended. Done. I wish they had come to us before that, or maybe even given her a warning that it would be suspended. Regardless, we do understand that there's a lot of fees involved in this, but we would ask that it would be, in installments, because, for her to learn her lesson, she hasn't got the money to pay that all up front. In future, we would recommend, we would appreciate if, Supercellnet would come to us first, or just inform us, with a phone call until they reached us and made comments on their, system, whatever that they had told us, and what our responses were. And we would also ask that, costs of today's arbitration also be, equally divided due to the high costs we are receiving, and that our phones be put back on, and that we do not get recorded as bad evidence.
So all phones put back on, or?
No, just my husband and I, Jason and mine.
Equally divided. And do you have a response, or want to put any costs forward?
Yeah, for the costs, I'm happy for it to be divided between both of us. I'm happy to send another notice of the statement where Amber would be able to make installment payments. We're happy to restore Sona and Jason's telephone services, but we will not be restoring Amber's telephone service until the whole amount is paid.
And then do you feel it would be something to sit down and maybe think of a different plan that might be a bit more, a plan that could be, I don't know, $10 a month, and then once she gets to that point of stopping, once she hits a certain point, that's the maximum she pays each month, and then the phone just stops. Would that be something that you
We
could
can
look
certainly
into?
do that.
Because I'm just thinking, we don't want this happening again, get it all paid off and then fall back into the same. Maybe this plan isn't the best for her.
Yes, And also, she has to be careful if she loses her phone or she leaves it at a friend's place. She needs to inform us of that.
Alright, well, that's something that needs to be cleared up and clarified. But, alright, is there anything else you want to say before we? That's all. Right, if I can ask you both to leave the room just for a few minutes so I can reflect on everything and come up with a final decision. Lord Amber, as a mature 16-year-old, understood and realised she was entering into a binding agreement. She may not have understood the agreement in its entirety, but she would have known enough that she was expected to pay at least $10 a month for 24 months, and that any extra things may cost a lot more. She would have known about like web searching and picture messaging. I also hold that you, Sandra, knew your daughter was entering into a binding agreement, as both yourself and your husband are also in a similar agreement with the same company. I cannot agree that you did not realise that your signature would hold not as much weight. I also do not hold that Supercellnet did as much as they could have done. Sending one letter to the same address with all three parties on it, at least just once a month, I do not feel that was enough to really address the situation, and I feel they could have done a lot more by maybe sending separate letters addressed, one to the parents and one to Amber. As such, taking all this into account, and Amber, as a mature child, needs to learn that nothing in life comes for free, and that as she is growing up, responsibility comes with that, and that I order that Supercellnet and Amber, with her parents present, come to an agreement on how much Amber can actually afford to pay back. I want you to come up with an instalment payment plan, and I'd like to have this to me by the end of sessions today. I also order that Supercellnet put back online both yourself and your husband's mobile phones, as that agreements were separate to what's before us, and they should not have been made unavailable. And regarding costs, I agree that both the parties pay actually 2/3 to Supercellnet, because I understand that having a small business and your side of it as well, and having Amber already paying back a lot of the costs, that 1/3 to yourself and 2/3. Yes.
Katrina, you've just undertaken a role play as an arbitrator, and how would you describe that process to mediation and negotiation?
The arbitrator's in a lot more control, I felt in this. It was good that you could break it up a lot, listen to the parties, but also really direct questions specifically to them. I found taking an objective base was also a lot easier to get to the main points.
And how did you find having to make a decision as opposed to being in, say, a consensus role?
I really actually enjoyed it a lot more, being able to ask the parties to leave the room and reflect on everything that was said, and not having to so much take the emotions into account. It made it a lot easier to make a decision.
Do you think the parties themselves were happy with a decision being made for them, or would they like another process?
I don't think anyone really likes being told what to do, and I know in this case not all the parties were really happy with what I decided.
Right. So. And do you think the parties are likely to appeal your decision?
They may do.
All right, well, thank you very much.